Hi everybody, Paul here again. Every year when the weather turns cold, a lot of people discover that they have little or no heat coming out of the air vents on the inside of their vehicle. Some of these causes will be easy and inexpensive to fix, while others will be more involved and costly to fix. Before discussing what causes little or no heat, let's first discuss how the heat is made and how it's pushed out of the air vents. Any vehicle with a combustion engine generates a tremendous amount of heat due to combustion and due to friction from the moving parts. To help regulate the heat, a colored liquid, usually green or red, called engine coolant, also referred to as antifreeze, is mixed with water and circulated through the engine. As the engine coolant absorbs heat from the engine coolant becomes very hot. Some of the hot engine coolant is then circulated through two hoses like you see here, which goes into the front dashboard. When the hot engine coolant enters the front dashboard, it circulates through a series of little tubes called a heater core. This acts like a small radiator and radiates heat. The speed of the heat being pushed out the air vents is controlled by a blower speed switch. The blower speed switch controls the speed of the blower motor, which forces air through the heater core and pushes heat out the air vents. The temperature of the heat being pushed out the air vents is controlled by a temperature switch. The temperature switch controls the opening and closing of small doors with an air blend actuator. This controls how much hot or cold air is pushed out the air vents. The airflow of the heat being pushed out of either the floor vents, front vents, defroster vents, or a combination of vents is controlled by an airflow switch. The airflow switch controls the opening and closing of small doors with an air blend actuator. This controls which air vents the heat is pushed out. Now that you see how the heat is made and pushed out the air vents, let's see what causes little or no heat. Always remember, you'll have no heat when the engine is cold. As the engine warms up, the air being pushed out of the air vents will also warm up. Number 1 is low engine coolant. This is the most common cause of no heat. If the engine coolant is low, there will not be enough engine coolant to send to the heater core to create heat. To create heat again, remove the radiator cap and add engine coolant all the way to the top of the radiator and fill the overflow tank to the full line. You may also need to bleed the cooling system. Never add engine coolant unless the radiator cap is cool to the touch, otherwise you may be burned. Number 2 is an engine coolant leak. Again, this is the most common cause of no heat. If the engine coolant is low, there will not be enough engine coolant to send to the heater core to create heat. Any one of the following parts could develop a leak: a radiator cap, a hose clamp, a radiator, a heater core, a water pump, or a head gasket. Number 3 is trapped air in the cooling system. This can prevent engine coolant from being sent to the heater core to create heat. This can be caused due to low engine coolant. This can also be caused due to draining engine coolant to replace engine coolant system parts, or just from replacing engine coolant. To create heat again, simply bleed the cooling system. This can easily be performed by using a special spill-free funnel and idling the engine. This funnel gets really high reviews, and I'll post it in the description. Number 4 is a faulty thermostat. If the thermostat gets stuck in the open position, it will not be able to properly regulate the engine temperature. This will cause little or no heat to be sent to the heater core due to the engine coolant not being hot enough. To replace the thermostat, drain the engine coolant, remove the thermostat housing, remove and replace the thermostat and thermostat gasket, reinstall the thermostat housing, add engine coolant, and bleed the cooling system.
Number 5 is a clogged radiator. This is commonly caused by engine coolant, which becomes thick or dark due to poor maintenance. This might require a flush or a complete radiator replacement. Number 6 is a clogged heater core. This is commonly caused by engine coolant, which becomes thick or dark due to poor maintenance. This might require a flush or a complete heater core replacement. Number 7 is a faulty water pump. This will cause little or no engine coolant to circulate through the heater core to create heat.
To replace the water pump, drain the engine coolant and remove the drive belt. If you need to remove the alternator to gain access to the water pump, be sure to first disconnect the battery. Remove and replace the water pump and water pump gasket, reassemble everything back together, add engine coolant, and bleed the cooling system.
Number 8 is a faulty blower motor. This will prevent the heat from the heater core from being pushed out the air vents.
To replace the blower motor, remove the front passenger glove box door. The blower motor is located here. Disconnect the battery before replacing the blower motor.
Number 9 is a faulty blower motor fuse. This will prevent the blower motor from pushing heat out the air vents.
The blower motor fuse will be located in a fuse panel. It may be located somewhere around the instrument panel, like you see here. The removable fuse panel cover will label each fuse as to its function. It may also be located somewhere in the engine compartment like you see here. The one in the engine compartment is labeled heater, which is a 50 amp fuse. Here's the 50 amp fuse. A blown fuse will be obvious because the wire element on the inside of the fuse will be melted. This one is good. If it's a blade fuse like you see here, you can either remove it and inspect it, or you can check it with a digital multimeter without removing it. As you can see, this blade fuse wire element is good. Place the digital multimeter on the continuity setting, which will have an arrow and a plus sign and a volume symbol. Touch the two probes together to make sure that the digital multimeter continuity setting is working, which will make a beep sound. Touch the two metal contacts on the top of the blade fuse with the two test probes. This fuse is good. One big caveat is if the blower motor fuse fails and then fails again after replacing it, you more than likely have a failing blower motor that needs to be replaced because it's drawing too much amperage.
Number 10 is a faulty blower motor resistor as shown on the left side of this picture. This will cause one or more of the blower speeds to not push heat out the air vents.
To replace the blower motor resistor, you'll need to gain access to the blower motor, which will be located behind the passenger glove box door. Here is the bottom of the blower motor. The blower motor resistor on this particular vehicle is located here. By removing these two screws, it can be removed and replaced. Disconnect the battery before replacing the blower motor resistor.
Number 11 is a faulty air blend actuator. This will prevent the selected air temperature from coming out of the floor vents, front vents, defroster vents, or a combination of vents. It will also cause inconsistent airflow or temperature, or even the wrong temperature. Most vehicles will typically have 2 to 4 air blend actuators located inside the dashboard by the air blend box. To replace an air blend actuator, remove the front passenger glove box door. You may also need to remove the front driver's side lower dashboard panel. To determine which air blend actuator is faulty, start the vehicle and observe which actuator is not moving while operating the different climate control switches.
Disconnect the battery before replacing an air blend actuator.
Number 12 is a faulty blower speed switch. This will prevent the blower motor from pushing heat out the air vents.
To replace the blower speed switch, disconnect the battery and remove the climate control panel. Using a special trim removal tool will make the job go a lot faster and prevent scratching and denting the trim. Now you can take this apart and replace the blower speed switch.
Number 13 is a faulty temperature switch. This will prevent changing the temperature of the air being pushed out the air vents. Again, replacing the switch will require disconnecting the battery and removing the climate control panel. Number 14 is a faulty airflow switch. This will prevent the adjustment of which air vents the heat is pushed out. Again, replacing the switch will require disconnecting the battery and removing the climate control panel. Number 15 is a clogged cabin air filter. This will cause poor airflow and reduce the amount of heat being pushed out the air vents.
To replace the cabin air filter, remove the front passenger glove box door. Now you can replace the cabin air filter.
Number 16 is a closed air vent. If any of the air vents have any kind of manual air vent control, make sure it's in the fully open position. Number 17 is a clogged air vent. Sometimes kids stick things down inside air vents which need to be removed to open the blockage. And last is number 18, which is frozen engine coolant. This is due to adding too much water to engine coolant being used in colder climates. This could cause serious damage to the engine and cooling system.
To prevent the engine coolant from freezing, follow the engine coolant mixing chart on the back of the engine coolant container based on the temperatures the vehicle will be driven in. I hope you found this helpful, and if you like this video, please hit the like button below, share it with your friends, and please be sure to subscribe. God bless you and have a great day. Bye for now. And while you guys are fixing your vehicle, Sparky and I will be recycling ourselves.